Hello there, my name is John and I am a nobody. The point of all these little stories is not to boast about the famous people I've met, which include, of course, Mick Taylor, Ian McLagan and Paul McCartney. No, it's more about the secret little stories, the ability to walk behind locked doors and see things that many people don't have the opportunity to see. So my very first job was working for the NHS and in England, and I was only a youngster. I had all my own teeth and everything. I was full of hope and for the future, and not like I am now, which is full of beer and not much hope. So anyway, I was working at accident and emergency in England, so we're going back to the 70s now. I only got the job because my predecessor could not stand the sight of blood. So because the department was a long way away from the main block, they needed somebody who was just solely responsible for that department and was basically on hand to be of assistance. One day we had an ambulance that came in with a blue light, and it contained a gentleman who'd been unfortunate. He'd been working in a sawmill and had got his arm somehow entangled into the saw, and he'd lost his arm. So he came in two different bits. His torso and the arm. The arm was in a metal bowl, and I took him out the back of the ambulance with one of the ambulance crewmen. They were all men at that time, and in those days they wore uniforms. They didn't wear the paramilitary like gear that modern ambulance crew members wear. So we took him out, put him onto a stretcher and wheeled him into the crash room, what we called the crash room, which was the emergency room. It was just one of those cases that I will never forget. I won't mention the cases that I've never forgotten, which will keep you up at night. So don't worry, it's not one of those stories. We wheeled him in to the crash room, and this is, of course, a true story. And he looked up at me, and this is what he said: "You don't have to worry about me because I am armless." End of quote. The doctor tried to, and the nursing staff, they tried to sew his arm back on, but it didn't take. And I had to later put the arm in a rubbish bag, a black rubbish bag, and take it down to the furnace, the hospital furnace. You would not believe how heavy an arm is. The second story I want to tell you is perhaps more flippant. enjoyable. We had a couple come in on one of the shifts I was on, and they were very secretive and didn't seem to want to talk to any male member of staff. They wanted to see a female nurse. This aroused our suspicions, and we pretended not to care, but we were all very interested in what was going on. They went into the crash room, or the woman did, with a nurse or two nurses, and then we were all pretending to be uninterested but fascinated, and then they came out, or the woman did, and walked to the man and started to leave the department. Suddenly a nurse appeared from the crash room, and she was holding a little bag, a little paper bag, brown paper bag, and held it up and said, "Oh, excuse me, you've forgotten something." So she gave her, the woman, the bag, and that was the end of the story. But of course, all the staff members wanted to know what was going on, and maybe you do. What had happened was the woman had been experimenting. She'd been, let's say, thrusting herself onto the gear knob of her boyfriend's sports car, and it had broken. It was an English car. And it had broken off, and they couldn't get it out. So it was, in fact, the gear stick knob. And it was, we all found that amusing. I don't know why, but we did, because you see a lot of things going on there in the accident and emergency. And I've already done one story about accident and emergency. But this is another one, and it will not keep you up at night. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next one. And until then, Tchaikovsky, and take care of yourself and those you love.